Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Animation Appreciation Podcast. I'm your host, Liliana Stargazer, and today we're covering Disney's Soul. For anyone wondering, yes, the middle school band does sound that bad. The board behind Joe says, "Things ain't what they used to be." Medium blues tempo, composed by Mercer Ellington, aka Duke Ellington. In case you don't understand music, tempo is just how fast you play, so about the speed as a standard blues song. Behind him, we also have posters that say, "Don't practice till you get it right, practice till you can't get it wrong." We also have some that say, "Jazz it up. A band is life," and one that's simply the mission statement. Also, for those of you wondering, that device by the box of chalk with chalk in it is so you can draw the music staves, the lines the notes rest on. Makes it easier. Even my school had them. Behind the kids, we see "Music is Life" and various jazz posters, including one for Jazz Fest. Can I also just note that their musical instruments are not new and shiny looking, because no child can keep their horn looking perfect. Even the one I've got now has a ding or two, and she's not even that old. By the desk, over the teacher's desk specifically, we see Dorothea Williams in a poster. When Joe's phone rings, you can see one of his mother's friends in the background dancing a bit. Curly's shirt says "Classic and Fusion" and "Free" and "Modal" and "Bebop," which are all different types of music. For anyone who played any wind instrument band, we noticed a detail about Dorothea's playing. In case you don't play a wind instrument, you actually can see the lower part of her ribs move first before the upper half. That's on purpose. When you learn to play, they specifically tell you to fill your lungs from the bottom to the top, because when you do this, you get more air and can play for longer. I still tend to do this when meditating, or simply just when I play my trumpet. The small detail of her stopping and adjusting her reed is a beautiful little touch, and I have seen many woodwinds do that. Can I just ask you to take a moment and rewatch the scene where she says, "So we are now down to middle school band teachers. Come on up, teach. We don't have all day." As someone with audio processing issues, I read lips a lot to help me understand others. The lip and facial movements when she says those lines is flawless. Somebody sat there and made them that perfect, and they deserve for those details to be noticed. The simple reflections of light on the piano are phenomenal. Someone has to adjust settings for that to work, even in a 3D environment. Just because it's rendered in 3D does not mean it's any easier. I have worked on 3D projects trying to get reflections correct, and I ended up with something transparent somehow, or reflecting so much that it just doesn't have any color of its own. So for it to have a color of its own and a reflection is a very delicate balance. The club name, the Half Note, actually has a half note on its sign. For those of you wondering, it's the one. It looks like a regular note but the inside is like hollow. I have no way to describe that without drawing it. The signs for the half note read, "Notice, no one under 18 permitted." Upcoming events: Half Note Live tonight, the Dorothea Williams Quartet. Live Jazz, My Jazz Music Festival, 4th Annual Piano Fest, and more things about jazz. Next door, we have a rare and used bookstore. That is to the right. To the left is a cafe. When he is in his soul form, the use of contour lines to show detail without outlining his entire form is actually a style choice. And when I was in college taking figure drawing, they specifically told us that we need to learn to balance contour lines versus when to use them and when not to, such as the fact that they outline the hands so that they can get gestures correct without needing to outline the rest of them. Contour lines, by the way, I'm specifically referring to the white outlines used in their hands and facial features and his glasses, actually. The quiet yet unsettling deep rumble of the moving sidewalk is ominous, yet still somehow quiet. The fact that each soul we see from Earth is unique means that someone sat down and modeled each and every one of them. When he is falling, the whimsical music over the deeply unsettling visuals is a lovely mix that for some reason just makes me happy. I would also wanted to point out that the living world, its lighting tends to be orangey, while in the Great Before, it's all blues and purples. Specifically, the living world is reds and oranges. The grass itself not only has a select few colors and details, while the rest is fuzzy. I was actually kind of impressed that they were trying to make it soft while still having some details, and they managed to find a perfect balance. The level of detail we have in the Jerrys, yet how simplified they are, is very cleverly done and well balanced. Also, each and every one of them is different. Borgenstein's life was in oranges, while when we get to Joe's Hall of View, it's all blues, like the afterlife. Before life, sorry. When 22 is trying art and throws down her supplies and says, "Hands are hard!" Every artist who's ever tried to draw hands felt that in their very souls. Hands are indeed hard, harder than getting a human face right. I actually had a teacher say that to me in college. My figure drawing teacher, hands are hard. The moment 22 steps outside the quiet hospital into the loud New York streets is a great example of overstimulation, where all noises, signs, lights, and everything seems to just be attacking your senses. You can actually see which drawers Terry has looked through because they aren't closed perfectly. When Terry is carrying the file, his hand is a paperclip. Beside the barber shop, we see a hair braiding place. For those of you who are wondering, they're not talking about a standard braid. They're talking about the micro, tiny braids that are used in frizzy hair to keep them under control, or simply for aesthetic reasons. Signs around the town read, Hosik's Authentic Korean Dumpling. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I don't speak Korean. Barbershop, That's Deli, 7 Lucky Grocery, Easy Pass Driving School. Though in New York, I don't think any driving school would be Easy Pass. There's a job agency. I could not actually tell you what the original language was. I just recognize a few words because it's the same roots as English. Rooms for rent. There's a dentist, shoes and socks store. I couldn't read the actual name. A pizzeria and a laundromat. There's also a police car driving by. And I know the movie says jazzing is not a word. They made it a word. Textures on the whole world of this movie. Someone made all of them by tweaking settings and painting details. Take a moment, any moment, and just look at them. The details we see on the road on the overpass versus underpass, and simply the signs I just mentioned. Phenomenal. Behind Joe, when he's at his mother's shop, we see frames and posters saying various things, such as Liba's Custom Tailoring and Alterations Grand Opening, Top 500 Businesses, Small Business Certifications, and various designs. Throughout the movie, when 22 is talking for him or translating what he says to be polite or things that he's not speaking from the heart, it's spoken with Joe's body and 22's voice. But here, to his mother, when he is speaking honestly, it's Joe's body and Joe's voice. When he says, music is all I think about from the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I go to sleep, it's actually the same phrasing I've heard before in Sister Act 2. Whoopi Goldberg's character said the same thing. If it is the first thing on your mind when you wake up and the last thought in your head before you go to sleep, it is something that's worth pursuing. If you can't live off the money you make doing it, make your money somewhere else and then make it your number one hobby. My passion is writing. I actually enjoy reading and writing, so I enjoy all forms of it. This podcast is an extension of my passion for writing and even animation. I genuinely love storytelling as a whole. Even when I'm just living in the moment and living my life, I'm writing a description in my head or memorizing the way that the light goes through leaves or something. Just anything to help me prepare for later. Mostly how I describe it to my husband. I also wanted to point out that the suit he was trying to wear that didn't quite fit was brown. Brown is considered a shade of orange, and so real quick, let me cover something in case it comes up later. Hue is what a color is. Tint is how much white is in it, and shade is how much black is in it. To make brown paint, you mix yourself an orange and add some black. So brown is a shade of orange. Therefore, his suit is the theme for the world he knew before, while the new suit is blue, representing what he learned in the afterlife, before life. Both? Now, specifically, the suit that he's wearing to follow his dream and really be alive is blue. The moment we are watching 22 sit and wait to get Joe back in his body, no words are spoken to tell us how 22 feels. Through the warm, soft lighting, the way every shot is framed, the music, the simplicity, and the calm, it shows us how 22 feels and makes us feel the same way. The lighting for the performance when he's playing alongside Dorothea is in blues, especially the spotlight on Joe. As the song goes on, it changes to red as he realizes life didn't change, everything's the same. And the light went out entirely. Even his apartment is dim now. The Hall of You showed moments that mattered. He saw the boring parts and forgot what it was like to live in those moments. He saw the pie, the moment where he was eating the pie, and he forgot about how the world around him sounded, how the weather felt that day, how that pie tasted. The animator's way of showing his growth by showing us the full flashbacks instead of just the isolated images from the Hall of You, that is good character development and good storytelling. When 22 is having an emotional spiral and we see all the bad things that were said to her, that's how a panic attack feels. A storm of all the negative things others say about us or that we have said about ourselves. I actually was able to explain a panic attack to my husband because of that moment. I would also like to point out something that has very little to do with the animation, but at the very end of the credits, it says, produced in Pixar Studios or in homes at least 6 feet apart, because it was made during COVID. They're letting us know no one was at risk making this film. This movie is 100% why I couldn't live without having a trumpet. Because I love my music. It's also part of what inspired me to do this. And I really do love this film. Not as much as Lilo and Stitch, but I do love this film. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and as always, never forget, if it is animated, someone absolutely did it on purpose. Thank you, and see you next week.